It took 6 episodes, but he finally did it.
Hello there.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will. Yes, I cleaned up a little bit, mainly because I just wanted to clean up a little bit, and everything was all over the place. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk. Wow, this actually looks all right. Doesn't look bad. We are here today to talk about the episode 6 finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is going to be a spoiler review talking about the finale and my overall feelings of the entire series as a whole. But before I talk about this episode, if you are new to this channel, hi, my name is Will, and I do geeky stuff on the internet. I do reviews, reactions, discussions, gaming, drinking, usually all wrapped around geekiness. So if that is your bag, why not subscribe to this channel? I'm on the road to 500 subscribers this year. I'm just about halfway there, and we're halfway through this year already. I would really love to hit 500 this year, but I can't get there without your help. So if you do enjoy this video, enjoy this content, enjoy my lovely face, or just hear me talking about geeky stuff for about 20 minutes, then subscribe, like, share the video around the internet. I'd really appreciate it. But let's talk about the finale of Obi-Wan Kenobi Season 1, because they have confirmed they are in the works of a second season. This episode does pick up immediately after the events of the first episode when the refugees have escaped, along with Obi-Wan and Roken and Haja and Leia. I'm remembering names now at the end, but they are in hot pursuit by the Empire, by Vader, he is pressed to get Obi-Wan. This man's singular purpose this entire season has been to get his hands on Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I love that sort of drive and determination, even to the disgruntled May of the Grand Inquisitor, who's like, we really should worry about taking out the path and the people who are protecting other Force users and Jedi. He's like, no, I want Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan makes the smart play by leaving the ship because he knows the ship can't make it with him on it, to the dismay of Leia and even Roken and everybody on there who see Obi-Wan as hope, as a leader. And this is a character who at the beginning of this series was not feeling that himself. It took a lot of people to get Obi-Wan to this point where he knows what he has to do. He's willing to protect people who have spent so much time protecting other people like him, other Force users, and who have continued this fight where, remember, at the beginning of the series, Obi-Wan was at his lowest point. And now he's at a much more calmer mental headspace in order to confront Vader and confront his past and not run away from it anymore. I love how him and Leia's relationship has grown throughout the series. I was not expecting Leia to be such a major part of the series. I originally thought of her as more of a plot device with the first 2 episodes, but damn, if this series didn't prove me wrong, and I love their relationship. It's such a sweet father-daughter type relationship. It's a way for him to instill some knowledge on her about where she came from and who she is, because she herself was feeling like that she doesn't belong, but now she understands where she belongs. And also helping instill a level of hope and promise again back into a character who at the start of this series was broken. And it's really all culminating beautifully in this episode, which is one thing I really loved about their relationship throughout the series, and especially in this final episode. So we get Obi-Wan departing to give Roken and the other refugees a chance to escape, which they do because he knows Vader. He knows Anakin is obsessed with him right now. And while Obi-Wan was definitely still griping with his past throughout the entirety of the series, at this point, at this moment, he is beginning to move past it and reach a level where he can confront Vader confidently. And we get to see that in a wonderful one-on-one fight on a deserted planet, it seems, amongst these high reaching rock formations. It's very reminiscent of the spot, if you ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, at the fight between Aang and Ozai. That area, that's what it reminded me of when they're having their lightsaber duel. They used a lot of dialogue from episode 3, which was kind of recontextualized here in this moment as well, from where they had their fight in Mustafar to now. And it's a really good fight. This entire episode has some really great action. But before we jump back into that fight, we jump forward to Tatooine, where we see a cloaked figure asking about Owen. And of course, it is Reva, who is on a mission to find the child and to enact her revenge by doing what Vader did to her friend onto this kid. And I have really enjoyed Reva as a character. She has been a very complex antagonist because it's hard to gauge if she's truly a villain, with her sort of rise and fall and redemption, so to speak, or at least the beginnings of a potential redemption at the end of this episode. I didn't think she would get a shot, but I think the episode does a really good job kind of showing her reaching the point of potentially no return to being right at the edge and not going over it the way that Anakin did. Her hunting of Luke in this episode is very reminiscent of Anakin's assault on the temple, and we see flashbacks to what she experienced from her perspective to Anakin, to how she now is in that Anakin position attempting to strike down Luke as she chases him through I want to say it's like Beggar's Canyon or the Dune Sea or someplace like that. It's wherever Obi-Wan ends up in A New Hope, that sort of area. But before that, she does make her way to the Leia'S family ranch, where Owen, and we finally get to see Beru again, played by the same actress who played her in Revenge of the Sith. See them preparing for Reva's assault on their homestead, and how Owen is ready to run, but Beru is the one who has the grapefruits in the family, and is like, no, we're better off here. And she even kind of scolds Owen a little bit. She was like, when she says something about Obi-Wan, he's like, he's gone, and then she's like, well, whose fault is that? I love that she does not have the same sort of tension on Obi-Wan that Owen has. But it's nice to see by the end of the episode they kind of rectify a lot of that tension to put both of them in a better place. That's one thing about this episode that does a really good job. It concludes all the loose threads and hanging stories and plot elements that they introduced in the series. They all got resolved in this episode, where if they decide that they are going forward with season 2, it doesn't feel like there's going to be anything hanging that they really need to address or anything like that. They cannot honestly do a fresh season 2 with characters who are in a much better headspace than at the start of the series itself. But I like how Owen and Beru are able to hold their own a little bit against Reva, who is admittedly still hurt because she took a lightsaber to the chest, or to the stomach, sorry. But it's a very cool action set piece, and then we keep jumping back and forth between that and the battle with Obi-Wan and Vader, which, again, really great scene. It does, if you rewatching it, it really does remind me a lot of that last fight between Aang and Ozai and Avatar, because there's even a point where Vader is able to like push Obi-Wan down into the ground and collapse a bunch of stuff on him, and he's holding up this stuff with the Force, all the debris, and then he starts to hear all the negative dialogue from his failure with Anakin and what he was saying to him in their first encounter and stuff like that. But then it's not until he starts thinking about Luke and Leia and all the good stuff that his connection to the Force increases enough where he can go toe-to-toe and even kind of put Vader on the back foot. It is very much like when Aang... There's a lot of Avatar Last Airbender references in this, but it actually kind of... It works. It lines up perfectly. Okay. So Obi-Wan, now back at full power, is going toe-to-toe with Vader, is able to damage his respirator and strikes the mask so you can see Anakin's face, and we get that moment of Obi-Wan finally letting things go. He says he's sorry, he failed him, all the stuff he was holding on to, and Anakin / Vader, he does his part to kind of help Obi-Wan get over that stuff, because he admits, he's like, you didn't fail Anakin. You didn't kill Anakin. I did. Admitting that Anakin is gone, and Obi-Wan, with tears in his eye, admits that his friend is dead. Not lost, like he said in Revenge of the Sith. He knows he's dead. That's it. And then he walks away. He's like, I'm out. I did this because I thought I had to do something, but clearly I don't have to do this. While Vader's gasping and angry and frustrated at his failure again. So the roles have clearly been reversed at this point, where Obi-Wan has finally accepted what the past is and is at the point now where he can move forward and focus on getting back to Tatooine as he feels that Luke is in danger through the Force. Now that his connection is much stronger than what it was, he races back to Tatooine, reuniting with Beru and Owen to see that Reva is carrying an unconscious Luke back to the homestead. Because Luke fell, hit his head, and Reva's at that point where she doesn't know she's going to strike him down. The camera work in this episode is so good. I loved how they did a lot of camera work during the fight as well. And then we get to the point where she returns Luke unconscious back to the family, and comes to the realization that she failed them, and she's referring to her friends that died, and Obi-Wan there to kind of tell her, no, you didn't. And the fear that she became him, referencing Vader, and Obi-Wan confirming, no, you didn't. And now who you become is up to you. She casts aside her lightsaber and wanders off, basically. So it's a really interesting ending where everyone is kind of at these closure points in the story. Reva now needs to find out who she is. Roken is now taking a more leadership role in the refugees and what will eventually become the Resistance. And we see Obi-Wan kind of wrapping up his stuff after he revisits Alderaan to return Lola, who Leia gave him back to her, who is very happy to see him. And it's a nice way to close out their relationship and to also realize this is a goodbye for both of them, because if you remember in A New Hope, they don't actually see each other. So this was a bittersweet ending for their relationship, but their relationship throughout the entire season 1 was great. I loved it. The episode starts to come to a close when Obi-Wan visits the Leia'S family ranch wearing new duds, cleaner duds, more akin to his Jedi robes that we see him in episode 4, and kind of says like, hey, I'm going to go away. You guys can take care of Luke. He really just needs to be a kid. He doesn't need me. You guys are more than enough. And Owen, before Obi-Wan leaves, offers to introduce Obi-Wan to Luke, which we get our classic hello there.
Hello there.
Which was sweet. It took 6 episodes to get to that point, but great. The episode finally comes to a close as Obi-Wan is wandering into the desert towards where we will eventually see him. And before it can end, we get our Qui-Gon Jinn cameo. Liam Neeson returns and is like, took you long enough? Yeah. Because he was like, what the hell? He was like, well, I've been here the whole time. You just weren't ready to see me. So, yay! Qui-Gon Jinn showed up. Yay. But that's where the episode ends, and the end of season 1 of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Overall thoughts on the series. It is fantastic. It was what I was hoping we would get from an Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and more that I wasn't expecting that I wanted. It's probably my favorite of the Star Wars Disney Plus series right now. Even better than Mandalorian. Sorry, Baby Yoda. I think little Leia kind of beat you to it. But no, I really did enjoy the series. Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Moses Ingram, all 3 of them really carried the series for me. Their performances, the emotional connections between Hayden and Ewan were great. I've always been a fan of Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. For me, he was the best part of the prequels. Taking nothing away against anybody else, but he was my favorite part of that series. And this series really allowed Hayden Christensen to really be, for me, a better version of Anakin and Vader than I think we've gotten in any other version that we've seen. I really liked that he was allowed to perform really well, even in the flashback with him as Anakin and Obi-Wan when they're sparring with each other. I even like that. Even though the effect of the de-aging wasn't my favorite, I did like that performance. I really like how throughout the entire series, we're still dealing with a master and an apprentice, and how they are still teaching each other and still growing, even after being apart for so long and in completely different roles now. I can't say enough about Leia as a character. Yes, the initial introduction with her was a little grating, but as she interacted more with Obi-Wan and learned to trust him more and be a little bit more vulnerable with him, he learned so much from her about what they're really fighting for, what's important, and to not just give up. And not just Leia instilled that, but Tala did as well. Even Roken played a major factor in that. Haja, who I feel like might have been slightly underutilized, but, you know, Camille, get those checks from Disney. Why not, dude? You're making that bank. But, yeah, I don't blame him. That would be like the one thing was like maybe Haja could have stood to have a little bit more to do. Maybe in a season 2 he'll make a return. I hope Reva at this point now maybe finds some form of redemption. I think her character arc throughout the entire series has been fantastic. Starting off as a complex villain, the most interesting of the Inquisitors, hands down. Initially thinking that her main goal was try to become an apprentice to Vader, a drive to that, seeking revenge for Obi-Wan for being a failure as a Jedi, but then in actuality looking to hunt Vader for what Anakin did to her friends, and willing to go through that same level of darkness to achieve that goal. And once you get there and you fail, and in your desperation, you almost become the thing that you were hunting. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful character arc. And for her at the moment to finally let go of to not become him, that's big. That's a huge character development, and it does leave the door open for a level of redemption. Will she get it? I don't know. Season 2 would make total sense for her to explore that. Obi-Wan realizing what he needs to do to be more flexible from what he originally thought he had to do. Basically going and hiding and just hiding and only trying to protect the boy. But realizing that the family can protect him. He doesn't need to be trained, he needs to be a kid. And that's realizing one of those fatal flaws that have always been prevalent when it comes to the Jedi Order, how they took kids at very young ages to begin training, and seeing what that caused in someone like Anakin, realizing that let's not make the same mistake with their kids. And I think that's a subconscious way of dealing with that throughout the series, while rebuilding Obi-Wan from his darkest moment back to being a person who's hoping again, who's hoping for a better future, realizing the future does rest with Luke and Leia. As a series, I think this was paced probably the best of any 6-episode series that we've gotten so far. I didn't feel like anything was rushed. I didn't feel like anything didn't make any sense. I think everything concluded and wrapped up in a beautiful bow, and that's got to all really be hands down. Deborah Chow, she killed it in this series. I loved it. I hope that she comes back for season 2. If this is where they end, I'm totally fine with it, because I think it wraps up the story of him going from depressing to hopeful again in a really neat bow. Like, everything's resolved. They don't have to do a season 2, but they're going to do a season 2. The fight choreography was great. I like how we still get a blending of prequel era lightsaber fights while leaning more into the grungy, more unrefined fights that we see in a lot of the new trilogy. Those are fantastic. I really love that. And not much else to really say about the series, I'm glad we got the cameos that we did. I'm glad that we got this series. The one thing I will say, and this is like a weird props and knock on the series, because it is a prequel, the tension at times was completely pointless because we knew where certain number of characters were going to end up. Like when Reva is assaulting the Lars family homestead, we know Owen and Beru and Luke are going to be fine. That kind of defeats the purpose of it. But there were still moments of tension that I experienced throughout the scene. Same thing with Obi-Wan and Vader's first encounter. When Vader's stalking him in the darkness, I'm thinking, oh shit, Obi-Wan's going to die. But then remember, no, he doesn't. So it's that double-edged sword of doing a prequel. That we know where the key characters are going to survive. So anyone else who's going to get ice is the people that were just introduced. So that's the only thing about when you do a prequel series. It takes away the tension ever so slightly, but somehow I was still tense in certain moments throughout watching the 6 episodes. So hats off to the writers, the director, everybody who contributed to that. That just, it shows that you're still able to provide a level of tension in a story that you kind of already know the outcome for. That's my spoiler review for episode 6 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, our finale of season 1. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think we'll get a season 2 or not? Where does this rank for you with the Star Wars series that we've gotten on Disney Plus? Are you a fan of Reva? Do you like Leia now? Do you think they are still not your favorite characters? Let me know those thoughts as well. Keep it PC. Let's just be kind to each other. Thank you so much for checking out this and all of my videos. I really do appreciate it. Again, if this is your first time and you enjoyed this sort of content, why not subscribe to the channel? Help a brother get to 500 subscribers. I would really appreciate it. It would mean the world to me. Please. I've got a ton of videos on this channel right now that you're more than welcome to check out. You can follow me on a lot of different social media platforms listed at the end of this video. Yeah, links are in the description for a lot of stuff. We're going to continue with Ms. Marvel, and then I know we've got some other stuff coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned. You can follow me on the socials for updates. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. As always, until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here. Later.